Okay, this chapter is the seventh Tuesday. We talk about the fear of aging. Maury lost his battle. Someone was now wiping his behind. His face, he faced this with typical brave acceptance. No longer able to reach behind him when he used the commode, he informed Connie at his latest limitation. Would you be embarrassed to do it for me? She said no. I found it typical that he asked her first. It took some getting used to, Maury admitted, because it was, in a way, complete surrender to the disease. The most personal and basic thing has now been taken away from him: going to the bathroom, wiping his nose, washing his privates. With the exception of breathing and swallowing his food, he was dependent on others for nearly everything. I asked Maury how he managed to stay positive through that. Mitch, it's funny, he said. I'm an independent person, so my inclination was to fight all of this. Being helped from the car, having someone else dress me. I felt a little ashamed because our culture tells us that we should be ashamed if we can't wipe our own behind. But then I figured, forget what culture says. I have ignored the culture much of my life. I'm not going to be ashamed. What's the big deal? And you know what? That's the strangest thing. What's that? I began to enjoy my dependency. Now I enjoy when they turn me over on my side and run cream on my behind so I don't get sores. Or when they wipe my brow or they give my legs a massage. I revel in it. I close my eyes and soak it up. It seems very familiar to me. It's like going back to being a child again: someone to bathe you, someone to lift you, someone to wipe you. We all know how to be a child. It's all inside of us. For me, it's just remembering how to enjoy it. The truth is, when our mother holds us, rocked us, stroked our heads, none of us ever got enough of that. We all yearn in some way to be returned to those days when we completely were taken care of. Unconditional love, unconditional attention. Most of us didn't get enough. I know I didn't. I looked at Maury and I suddenly knew why he enjoyed me leaning over to adjust his microphone, or fussing with his pillows, or wiping his eyes. Human touch. At 78, he was giving as an adult and taking as a child. Later that day, we talked about aging, or maybe I should say the fear of aging, another one of the issues that's on my what's bugging my generation list. On my ride from the Boston airport, I'd counted the billboards that featured young and beautiful people. There was a handsome young man in a cowboy hat smoking a cigarette, two beautiful young women smiling over a shampoo bottle, a sultry looking teenager with her jeans unsnapped, and a sexy woman in a black velvet dress next to a man in a tuxedo, the two of them snuggling a glass of scotch. Not once did I see one or pass Not once did I see anyone who would pass for over 35, I told Maury. I was already feeling over the hill, much as I tried desperately to stay on top of it. I worked out constantly, watched what I ate, checked my hairline in the mirror, and I'd gone from being proud of my age because of all that I'd done so young to not bringing it up for fear I was going getting too close to 40 and therefore professional oblivion. Maury had aging in a better perspective. All this emphasis on youth, I don't buy it, he said. Listen, I know what a misery being young can be, so don't tell me it's so great. All these kids who come to me with their struggles, their strife, their feeling of inadequacy, their sense of life was miserable, so bad that they wanted to kill themselves. And in addition to all the miseries, the young are not wise. They have very little understanding about life. Who wants to live every day when you don't know what's going on? When people are manipulating you, telling you to buy this perfume and you'll be beautiful, or this pair of jeans and you'll be sexy, and you believe them. It's such nonsense. Weren't you ever afraid of growing old? I asked. Mitch, I embraced aging. Embrace it. It's very simple. As you grow, you learn more. If you stayed at 22, you'd always be as ignorant as you were at 22. Aging is not just decay, it's growth. It's more than the negative and you're going to die. It's also more of the positive, that you understand that you're going to die and that you live a better life because of it. Yes, I said, but if aging were so valuable, why do people always say, oh, if I were young again? You never hear people say, I wish I were 65. He smiled. You know what that reflects? Unsatisfied lives, unfulfilled lives, lives that haven't found meaning. Because if you found meaning in your life, you don't want to go back. You don't want to go forward. You just want to see more, do more. You can't wait until 65. Listen, you should know something. All younger people should know something. If you're always battling against getting older, you're always going to be unhappy because it will happen anyhow. And Mitch, he lowered his voice, the fact is, you are going to die eventually. I nodded. It won't matter what you tell yourself, I know, but hopefully, he said, not for a long, long time. He closed his eyes with a peaceful look and then asked me to adjust the pillows behind his head. His body needed constant adjustment to stay comfortable. It was propped in the chair with white pillows, yellow foam, and blue towels. At a quick glance, it seemed as if Maury were being packed for shipping. Thank you, he whispered as I moved the pillows. No problem, I said. Mitch, what are you thinking? I paused before answering. Okay, I said, I'm wondering how you don't envy being younger and healthier. Don't envy younger, healthier people. Oh, I guess I do. He closed his eyes. I envy them being able to go to the health club or go for a swim or dance, mostly for dancing. But envy comes to me. I feel it. And then I let it go. Remember what I said about detachment? Let it go. Tell yourself that's envy. I'm going to separate from it now and then walk away. He coughed a long, scratchy cough, and he pushed a tissue to his mouth and spit weakly into it. Sitting there, I felt so much stronger than he did, ridiculously so, as if I could lift him and toss him over my shoulder like a sack of flour. I was embarrassed by this superiority because I did not feel superior to him in any other way. How do you keep from envying? What? Me? He smiled. Mitch, it is impossible for the old not to envy the young, but the issue is to accept who you are and revel in that this is your time to be in your 30s. I had my time to be in my 30s, and now it's my time to be 78. You have to find what's good and true and beautiful in your life as it is now. Looking back makes you competitive, and age is not a competitive issue. He exhaled and lowered his eyes as if to watch his breath scutter into the air. The truth is, part of my me is every age. I'm 3 years old. I'm a 5 year old. I'm a 37-year old. I'm a 50 year old. I've been through all of them and I know what it's like. I delight in being a child when it's appropriate to be a child. I delight in being a wise old man when it's appropriate to be a wise old man. Think of all I can be. I'm at every age, up to my own. Do you understand? I nodded. How can I be envious of where you are when I've already been there myself? There's a very brief flashback, and it's actually a quote from Maury's favorite poem. It says, Fate succumbs many species, one alone jeopardizes itself.